one.
Go. I thought you were recording already. We're good. Okay, everyone's recording. All right. Number 1. Yes, Matt. This is better be relevant.
Oh my god.
I'm not doing anything, so do you want me to look up the video sharing software or editing software?
First one.
Theme, insubordination.
Okay, so look through your notes, see if you've got anything about insubordination. If you do, pointers up. A lot of downtime in this. What do you guys think? Anyone?
I do, but I get a little more time.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, take a second. Anyone else? Even if, so here's the thing, even if this isn't your character, be thinking about what you can say about it, about other characters. Right? Insubordination, we know what that means. So, for example, Sister James. Does Sister James have anything that she might, is there a point where we see her struggling with insubordination? No, we're not just staring at you, sorry. We're just, okay, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I put that Sister Aloysius is insubordinate to God, because and Father Flynn is insubordinate to God. If Sister Aloysius' suspicions are true, then Father Flynn is sinning and failing to fulfill his position as a priest. And if Sister Aloysius is wrong, she's damaging her relationship with God because she's accusing Father Flynn of doing something really bad. She's also insubordinate to her superiors because she is going behind their backs and to get Father Flynn kicked out of the church.
Right, good. Does anyone have like a response to that? Was it acceptable that she was insubordinate in those situations? What do you guys think? This is kind of how I want this to go. So like a point would be raised and then let's talk about it for just a minute or two. So what do you guys think about what Kira just said? Do you think that what's the consequence of that or anything like that? This is a tough one. It'll go a little smoother when we get an easier one. Does anyone have anything? It's okay if not, we can move on. Move on? Okay, see this is why we're editing stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't all gonna be, don't worry, this isn't all gonna be on there. So you can, let's just take this and pass it down. So you can just hold on to it and then when you're done, give it to Dan. So next topic.
Manipulation.
The theme of manipulation. Look through your notes. Most of you guys should have stuff on this. Put your pointers up when you've got something. How are you guys doing with recording space? Good? You guys need another minute? Okay, those of you, if you can keep looking if you want. Let's start with Mary. Hers was up first.
It's obviously like a pattern throughout the characters, but Sister Aloysius manipulates various characters through the story. Like with Sister James, she tries to control how she should teach her class, and then she sort of manipulates the children too in a way because, specifically like with the transistor radio, like he can't have it in class, but she can take it back to her office and listen to it. So like if she's able to so easily manipulate these various characters, it sort of leaves you to be a little skeptical of when she's actually not manipulating everybody.
Right, it's a good point. What do you guys, does anyone have a response to that? Yeah, Jim?
I feel like Father Flynn's more manipulative because, like he says, Sister James should question her superior, but later insists Sister A should follow the chain of command, and she shouldn't go behind his back. So he's telling Sister James one thing and then contradicting himself in another.
Okay. Response to either of those two things before we move on to new points? Is that a response? Yeah.
I also Flynn being manipulative towards Sister James when they're in the garden talking, and he tries to tell her that both their jobs are like in danger, and he could be like manipulating her to try to take some heat off of him.
Right. Do you think, what's the consequence of that for Nick or anyone? Is there a consequence? Do we think differently about Father Flynn for doing that? In other words, what's the so what of that? Remember how Mary just sort of finished her last statement? So if that's how if we feel like he's manipulating, do we think differently about his character maybe?
It's almost like he's playing a game because he's being like strategic in what he's doing because he knows
Right.
that once he's being like pinned for something, he's gonna take a chance and lay something else on Sister Aloysius to maybe claim it, or whoever whose the job's on the line also.
Right. So we lose some trust in him, right? In that. So that manipulation leads to a lack of trust, or diminishing trust. Any other comments on just that? Mariana?
I wrote that Sister Aloysius does not want to mention the situation to her superior, Monsignor Benedict, because she says that Monsignor will not see where Father Flynn is wrong and will take his side. And if a superior is not able to look at the situation correctly and Sister Aloysius does not want to talk to him about it, it seems like Father Flynn knows how to manipulate the Monsignor to believe he is good.
Right. And then did that happen, do we have evidence of that happening in the past too? When? Maybe that Father Flynn has pulled this manipulation before? When?
At his past parishes.
At the past parishes, right? So possibly there's a pattern of this, maybe. Other comments on this? Yeah, Mike?
Just to add to what James said, that like all their jobs were on the line. He's kind of like planning ahead. So doesn't that make him like more guilty?
Well, possibly, yeah. It definitely,
Like saying as a result from all this,
yeah.
what's gonna happen?
Yeah, planning ahead, preparing for maybe if he knows he's guilty, then he's got to sort of plan for that, prepare for that. So yeah, it does lead to maybe that sort of indication. Other people? Yeah, Brad?
Like what Mary was saying with Sister Aloysius, like manipulating people. She like tries to manipulate Mrs. Mueller, but like it doesn't really work. She like Mrs. Mueller like stands her ground and just keeps like saying the same thing.
How does she try to manipulate her? I think that's a good point.
Like she keeps like she's trying to put the idea in her head that Father Flynn has done something wrong whenever she doesn't have a lot of proof of it, and Mrs. Mueller just like, well, where's the proof? Where's the proof?
Right.
Do you have any like proof to back this up?
Right.
Like she doesn't like, and whenever like their conversation ends, she just like hit his sister, like she doesn't let her like get another word in.
So she's sort of like needling her, bullying her a little bit, into maybe trying to say that something's wrong even if there isn't.
I don't think it's that bad in the sense just like if she were to find out that something were actually happening and that Sister Aloysius had some like inkling of an idea that something was happening, I think she'd be madder at the fact that she never said anything in the first place. So it's almost like out of respect and like obligation for Sister A to say something to Mrs. Mueller.
Right, that's a good point. Anyone have a comment on that? Good, that's what I want you guys to do. You're to discuss each other's points too. Anyone else have a point on this? Ready to move on? Okay. Dan? See what Frosty has?
Justice at any cost.
Okay. Look through your notes. Even if you're not, even if you're Sister James or Mrs. Mueller, think about what sort of those minor characters might be thinking about this. Even if it doesn't directly affect them. Oh my gosh. This is better. You guys weren't talking to me over there. I'm not in the way, I'm ready.
Can I just go?
Yeah, you guys can keep looking through, yeah.
Sister Aloysius is willing to go, or to get Father Flynn resigned without any evidence. She's willing to risk her job, and like by calling the last church she was at, which she talked to a nun and not the priest, which like could have potentially gotten her fired. And she's going behind everybody's back. She's doing so much to get him fired, so she's willing to get him, I don't know, justice at any cost.
So her any cost is what? You were pretty much saying it, but lying?
Yeah.
But at the cost of what?
Her job.
Say it louder.
Losing her job.
Losing her job? What else?
Making Father Flynn lose his job too.
Right? What else?
Risking a relationship with God.
Exactly. So there's the minor stuff too. It's the consequences for her and Flynn, but it's more than that. She's willing to risk that. Remember, she even says at different spots, a step away from God is, in correcting wrong is still just, however she says that, justified or whatever. So that is her cost. There are different costs to her. A response to that before we go to other people? Anyone, who else, other people? Pointers?
Father Flynn, he also breaks a lot of rules in trying to defend himself. He enters Sister A's room without having a third party, and he manipulates Sister James and everything, and he manipulates Sister A, threatening her job and threatening to have her fired and everything over and over again. So he's willing to punish Sister James and Sister A to try and make sure he stays in the parish.
Right? At what cost? What do you think? Or anyone? What would be the consequence of that?
Losing his job.
Losing his job, her losing hers? What else? Is it the same thing as Sister Aloysius? His relationship with God, if he's lying? Anything else?
His relationship with Donald, maybe.
That's what I was getting at. His relationship sort of with students in general, moving forward as an educator. He's risking all that.
And he's kind of putting the school's reputation, the community.
Exactly. So that's also at risk. By staying, that's what he's doing. He's putting everyone at risk. By leaving, what is the cost there? What's the consequence there? The negative. Is there a negative consequence to him leaving?
Could affect Donald.
Right.
as he lives.
If he's not doing anything wrong and he's pushed out, they just got rid of a good educator for no reason. Right? Other points? Justice at any cost? What do you guys think that Mrs. Mueller thinks about that? Whether you're her or not.
I think she just is focused on Donald graduating from the school. She doesn't really want justice.
Right. Good. So in her opinion, there shouldn't be justice at any cost, right? In her mind, that's not the way to be thinking, because the cost can outweigh the justice for her and for her son.
I think she views it as the fact that justice should only be there if it's absolutely necessary. If there is no evidence, then justice shouldn't need to be served.
Right.
I think it's sort of, you can look at it like Miss Mueller maybe looking at her son as almost collateral damage in the whole thing, because between the fight between Sister Aloysius and Father Flynn, he just happens to be somebody that was hurt on the outside. Because if you look back at the beginning, when Sister James starts to tell Sister Aloysius about her son, Mrs. Mueller's son, being a target in Father Flynn's wrongdoings, Sister Aloysius sort of jumps on that. She already had some doubt of Father Flynn that he was doing something wrong, so this just happened to be something she could pin it on. And so then he turns into be something that Mrs. Mueller could just look at it as he's almost an innocent bystander, which he is.
Right. And the evidence of that is what? Remember when Sister James says to Sister Aloysius at the end? She said, "You just don't like him," or towards the end, right? That's sort of what you're saying. She says, "That's what you're doing. You just don't like him. That's why you're doing this." Any other response to that? Yeah.
I feel like Sister Aloysius and Miss Mueller kind of switch characters, because even if there's any allegations against your son, wouldn't the mother be more concerned than the principal?
Right. That's interesting. Yeah. So they reverse their roles sort of in this situation. And it's pretty much hinges on that theme. Justice at any cost. That's what differentiates them. Usually it would be, you know, the mother trying to protect that at any cost. But instead, the consequence of that is too big. It's too big for her. Other things about this? We ready to move on? Okay. Fred, see what Frosty has for you.
Theme of abuse of power.
Okay. Let's see what we have. I'll make this one. Take a second. Okay. Jim, you wanna start?
I said how, like Flynn abuses his, position in the church because during the sermons and everything, he's able to call out Sister A and Sister James. However, when he's in, Sister Aloysius's room, he's a lot more defensive. And he also abuses, like, his male role, saying, why don't you go to the Monsignor? Why don't you go to the priest in the last parish? You shouldn't have gone to the nun. But meanwhile, he still, like, breaks rules himself by breaking out of those rules. So I said that's him abusing his power.
Right. Response to that? Anyone? Especially if you have something to add to something someone says, or to disagree with it.
Does your response have to be like tied into the character?
No, the response doesn't, no. Like when I ask if anyone has a response to that or anything, it just anyone in here, this is just for you guys to be discussing between you, so no, it doesn't have to be just about yours. Just the primary points you guys make when we do that, that's all. What do you guys think, abuse of power?
In the beginning, when Sister Aloysius is like yelling at Sister James, she says, usually more children are sent down to me. I try to take care of things myself. And that can be an error you are answerable me. Which, like, Sister James is capable of scalding her own children, but, like, Sister Aloysius feels that she should be in charge of everything.
Right. Abuse of power. Response to that?
It's like kind of.
Yours is a new one?
Yeah.
Alright, like mine is like going off of like Sister Aloysius, like when it comes like her and Mrs. Mueller's conversation, like Sister Aloysius tries to like abuse like the power that she has, like she tries to make it seem like she's like the everything of the school. But only she's just like the principal. Like
Right.
it is kind of like everything. She has a big role in it, but she's not like the prime like person
Right.
there. And like Mrs. Mueller just like tries not to take it, she tries like just like pushing it off.
Response to that? Other comments? Abuse of power? What about Father Flynn? Do you think he has, and this isn't just the Father Flynn people, but is there an abuse of power from his role?
No, it's fine. Although Sister Aloysius seems to always get what she wants and everything, Father Flynn definitely has more abuse of power over her because she can't get to everything he's doing. Like when he writes in the little book about his sermons, like that's a limitation of power for her because she doesn't know what he's writing. And he also has abuse power over Monsignor because he has a relationship with him that he won't get in trouble for anything.
Right.
But yeah, he just has more power than she does.
Right. What do you guys think about the scene with the altar wine? Does that show an abuse of power at all from anyone's point of view?
I think Father Flynn abuses his power there because not only does he cover for Donald Mueller, which he shouldn't do, he then like turns it around on Sister Aloysius when she finds out what Donald was doing, and the excuse for him like saying what happened was that she could call another male in the church that he's obviously friends with, so he abuses a lot of roles there.
Right. Anything else? Move on. And Nick, next point.
resemble the Christmas pageant?
Wild card. Think about it for a minute. Think about if there's what in general you think the Christmas pageant in the play might represent. Take a second, gather thoughts. Pointers? I like pointers. We're gonna take pictures with them later. Okay? Jim?
I think the Christmas pageant is representative of like the progressiveness or conservativeness of the church, because Father Flynn wants like a lot of non-religious songs in the Christmas pageant, and while that may seem fun, it's still like even today like it's almost a question of why would you have like anti-religious or non-religious songs in a Christmas pageant where the church is putting on. And it's a sign of like Sister Aloysius's like prudeness, because she like makes fun of Frosty the Snowman, and it's sort of ridiculous in the way that she makes fun of it, but it's still a valid point.
Right.
Yeah, goes back to like Sister Aloysius just not liking him, like it's part of like another reason why she doesn't like him. He's sort of new age and she's older, and
Right.
it just adds to their like hate for him.
Right. Leads us to some themes that we've got working in the play. What else? Dan and Mike, did they say what you guys were gonna say? Anything else we can think of the play might represent? What does it represent to Sister James, do you think?
Just like a good time. I guess.
Right. So it's something very different to her. She just thinks it's a nice celebration. Sister Aloysius thinks it's, you know, what Jim just said. What does Father Flynn think it is?
It's like in a similar way that Sister James thinks it's like, you know, be like nice to the children like the whole time. Because Father Flynn also thinks Sister Aloysius like has made the school like too strict.
Right. So the two of them are sort of on the same side there. But it seems like Sister James sort of has an even more carefree attitude about it, right? It's still a little different. She's sort of off on the end of like just frivolous.
It's almost like she's one of the kids.
Right,
like, of
good,
the-
right. Father Flynn still sees it, but he's more adult about it. He's like, well, let's let the kids have it. Whereas her reaction is kid-like.
I think also it's a way of like Sister A trying to deal with like the different like racial issues in the school, because she views it as a way to like almost like integrate Donald Mueller into
Right.
this like into the play, and Father Flynn fails to see how there should be any certain treatment made. He's just like, what do you mean? Why? Because like the color of the skin. But to her, it's a way of like neither making him a huge part nor
Right.
like having him pick.
So it's a tool for her.
Yeah.
What else does she even more literally use it as a tool for?
Getting Father Flynn to get in the room and talk
Right.
about the.
And he says, was this about the pageant or was this about this, right? So it was a literal tool as well for her. Other things about the pageant? Good job. Mariana? Frosty?
Child security within schools.
Okay. Look for your points, see if you've got some stuff that you wanna talk about. Even if you don't have anything on your paper, you know, think about whether there's something that you'd respond to once people get their points out. Brett?
I was saying like with when it comes to Mrs. Mueller and like her idea of childhood or security within schools, it almost seems like she doesn't really care about it. It's like just like a small thing she just wants Donald to move on to high school, because she just keeps saying it's just till June. Like if anything bad is happening,
Right?
and that's not what you would think a normal parent would think of. You would think that would be the first thing on their mind, but she just wants to like get it over with. Like,
Right.
Get in high school.
Let's respond to that bit for a second before we do new points. What do you guys think? Is there a different way for her to think about child security within schools? And that's absolutely true, what you just said. Is there another? she clearly thinks it's more important in terms of Father Flynn, but what about the other kids? Does she think differently about security in schools in terms of her son and his peers? Is that a new point or great response?
Responding.
Okay.
She says like Father Flynn's protected her child from the other children
Right.
in school, and she views child security in this school a lot different than where Donald Mueller would have gone, because she says like if he was in another school, he would have
Exactly.
been killed.
Well, he did. That's why he transferred, remember? So security is ambiguous. It's different. It can be different things. So on one hand, she seems monstrous because she might be letting her child be in the situation. But on the other hand, he almost got killed at his last school. And if the father finds out about this, he might kill him. So it's literally life and death versus something that she thinks there isn't even any proof of. Anything else? Child security within schools? What do you guys think? Oh, sorry.
I don't think it's like you can't just like look at cases one by one with that. Like Sister Aloysius can't like grade whether or not she thinks that the child is going to like face repercussions at home due to like being abused at school. So it's not fair for her to like not tell a parent based on that. And I think she's like obviously very taken aback by Mrs. Mueller's like laissez-faire like feeling on her son's like potential abuse. So that probably like really confuses her, but she still like pushes with her like original instinct and like decides to tell Mrs. Mueller like the extent of what she thinks is happening.
Mm-hmm. It's a difficult position to be in. That's a really good point that you made at first.
Father Flynn and Sister Aloysius have like different but similar views of child security, because they both think that they need to protect the children from different forms of like administration, but the sides of administration are like each other. But like Father Flynn views his job as child security as like actually going and being like the child's protector, whereas Sister Aloysius feels like she should be there after the fact of whatever incident there is, more than preventing one.
Right? Any responses to that? Or other points? Security within schools? Move on. Mary?
Cartridge versus fountain pens.
Symbol. Working with the symbol of the pens. Points. Okay, Dan?
I think the like symbol between like the pens is like the new and like old like age. Like Sister Aloysius is like really for like the old style.
Old fashioned?
Yeah, and I think that's why she doesn't like the ballpoint pen.
Right? Why do you think that's true? Is that this?
Yeah, because Sister Aloysius says that if they use cartridge pens, then they're like finding their easy way out.
Right?
And I wrote that it kind of creates a tension between Sister Aloysius and Sister James, because Sister Aloysius believes, since she saw the pen in Sister James' classroom, that she's letting her students use them. So it's like she's accusing Sister James of like helping her students like not work harder. on
Right.
things.
Right. It's the easy way. She thinks it's the easy way out. Why is that the easy way out?
Yeah. It's 10% left.
It's what?
10% left.
Okay. We only have a few minutes left. So just go as long as you can. It's okay. Why is that the easy way out? Ballpoint cartridge pens.
Like for the fountain pens, you have to like keep dipping them in and like use it's already all in the pen. But from
Right.
Sister A's point of view, like she says that the fountain pens make them write better, like their script is neater. So maybe she's right, and maybe they should be trying harder, because the ballpoint pens just make you press harder on the
Right.
pages, she says, and they don't write as neatly.
It's also that they're just easier.
Yeah.
So you can make a mistake, you just scratch it out, and there's unlimited ink. Versus with the fountain pen, there's more work, you put more attention into it, you take your time with it. Penmanship is different. What else, Kira?
I think another reason that Sister Aloysius likes the fountain pens over the cartridge pens is because it's just another reason for her to get kids in trouble and extend her power more. She also, like Father Flynn, uses a cartridge pen, and I think that's another reason that she doesn't like him and distrusts him, because he uses that just because it's not the way she thinks things should be.
Right. Distrust, that's a good word there. Was your pointer up before, Mike? Did you have something? Did they say it? What about Sister James? Where does she fall in this?
I don't know if Dan already said that, but that's like how they differ. Like the cartridge versus fountain pen goes back to the progressive versus traditional thing between Sister James and Sister Aloysius.
Right. It's also what you guys were talking about, that source of tension. It's there with Sister James in a different way. She's fearful. Remember when Sister Aloysius finds it, she says, "Oh no, not I wouldn't let them do that." You know, so it's sort of like a line that she knows she can't cross with Sister Aloysius. Whereas, do you think if Sister Aloysius wasn't there, would she care? So to her, that represents something different to her. It's a source of fear and anxiety even with her. Something she wants to sort of use and get on board with and doesn't care about, but because of someone else's arbitrary rule, she can't. Other things about the fountain pens? Okay, let's go through it. Kira, the last one. Make it count.
Sugar.
A symbol of sugar. A little tough maybe. A little tougher to think about. Let's try to think beyond just, progressive versus traditional. Think about what it represents to our three primary characters. Yeah, Nick.
It's like, I guess like, Sister Aloysius would look at Father Flynn when like he put all those sugars in his tea or coffee, whatever it was, that like he may have like weak constitutions because
Right,
like
good.
he's not disciplined or whatever as like the nuns are.
Right.
And like how their dinner like in the movie was all like very neat and nice, and the priest dinner they're all like
Right. So it's sort of like just lawless,
yeah.
craziness, lawlessness, sugar.
Yeah.
Like it's, prohibition, alcohol or something, right? Good point. Yeah, Jim.
I feel like it also represents like each of their relationships to God and like relationship to like their vows, because they're supposed to take a vow of poverty, but here is Father Flynn like putting 3 cups of sugar or 3 cubes of sugar in each cup of tea, and like even Sister James, who's usually more like progressive thinking, is like, oh no, I don't take that much sugar in my tea, like never. And it also shows that like Sister A, gives it up for Lent, and she's